Hey guys, we're going to continue Chapter 9, Section 4 here, where we're looking at factoring to solve quadratic equations. You want to pause and copy this down, the zero product property. So it says for any real numbers, a and b, if a times b equals 0, then either a equals 0 or b equals 0, but they both could be 0. But it doesn't matter what b is. If a is 0, then the product's 0. It doesn't matter what b is. If a is 0, then the product's also 0. So an example of this, and this is how we apply it to what we're talking about today, would be if x plus 3 times x plus 2 equals 0, then one of these things must be true. All right, so in order for this to be true over here, x would have to be negative 3, or for this one, it would be x is equal to negative 2. This zero product property is what the entire lesson of today is built upon. So it's very, very important that you understand this. All right, let's keep going. I know he's a zombie, but hey, at least I found a guy who wants me for my brains. It's for all my Walking Dead fans out there. All right, using the zero product property, what are the solutions of the equation? The solutions are going to be the values that I could substitute in for t that will make this true. Well, I need it to equal 0, so I'm going to split this into two different things. I have 4t plus 1 equals 0, so I'll solve for that very quickly. Divide by 4, and t equals negative 1/4, or I get t minus 2 equals 0. If this makes this 0, it doesn't matter what happens in here because this is going to be multiplied by 0, which makes the whole thing 0. So I want to know what are the values of t that's going to make one of these 0. All right, so negative 4th in here doesn't make this 0, but it does make that 0. That's what we're looking for on this. So go ahead and add 2 to both sides. T equals 2. So the solutions here are t equals negative 1/4 or t equals 2. Either one of those will make it true. So here's a couple for you to try. Go ahead and pause. The answers will be up in 3, 2, 1. All right, here is what I got. So you could plug in to see if both of these work. I'm not going to do that for the sake of time, but I would encourage you to do that. So check your work against mine. Let's keep going. All right, so here's solving by factoring. Here I have this. This is why Chapter 8 was so important. I need to factor this value out right here. So let's see. I'm looking for two factors of 15 that add together to equal 8. Well, that's pretty easy. How about 3 and 5? And now this looks like exactly what we were just looking at. So x plus 3 equals 0 means x equals negative 3. Over here, x plus 5 equals 0, which means x equals negative 5. So both of these are solutions for this. We could try this real quick. So negative 3 squared is 9. 9 plus negative 24 is negative 15. Negative 15 plus 15 is 0. Or we could try negative 5. So that's 25 plus negative 40. So negative 40 plus 25 is negative 15 plus 15 equals 0. So I encourage you to check those just to make sure that you're right. But I'm looking for two solutions. Kind of a little trick here is whatever the degree is, that's typically the number of solutions you're going to have. It's not always that way because it is possible where let's say the max or the min lie on the x-axis, or it doesn't touch the x-axis at all, then that'd be 0 solutions. But for the most part, if it's squared, you're going to have two solutions. Let's keep going. What are the solutions of the equations? So this one is supposed to be a u-try. So go ahead and pause. The answer will be up in 3, 2, 1. All right, here are the answers that I got. So check yours against that. And we are moving on. Okay, so it says, what are the solutions? This one's writing in standard form. First, in order to solve this, this must equal 0. All right, so in order to do that, I need to subtract 18 from both sides. So I'm going to just subtract the 18 over here. And when I do that, that makes that 0. So I'm going to have minus 18. And now I have my problem to look at. So let's go ahead and solve this. So 4 times 18 is 72. This is a minus, which means I need a difference of two ones that equal 21. So let's see. I'm just going to jump to save time. 24 and 3 are my two that have a difference of 21. So 4x squared, we will do minus 24x plus 3x minus 18 equals 0. Factor out a 4x. I'm left with x minus 6 plus factor out a 3, x minus 6. And then 4x plus 3 times x minus 6. Solve each one of these for 0. So 0 would be negative 3/4. I'm kind of skipping a couple steps here, but you should be able to solve that two-step equation pretty quickly, maybe even in your head. Or x equals 6. Ideally, you are doing those in your head. All right, so there are my two solutions. I could substitute them back into this to see if it works. I encourage you to do that. For the sake of time, I'm not. All right, so what about solving a real-world problem? It says you are constructing a frame for the rectangular photo shown. You want the frame to be the same width all the way around, and the total area of the frame and photo to be 315 inches squared. What should the outer dimensions of the frame be? So the first thing that I'm going to do is figure out the area. The total area is going to be given by the width times the length. Well, the length on this is going to be this x plus the 11 plus this other x. So this first one's going to be 2x plus 11. And then the width is going to be x plus 17 plus x, or 2x plus 17. And this needs to be 315 inches squared. All right, from there I go ahead and FOIL this, so I get 4x squared plus 56x plus 187 equals 315. And like I said before in that problem before, I can't solve this if this isn't 0, so I'm going to subtract 315 from both sides. And I get 4x squared plus 56x minus 128 equals 0. Now you should hopefully check this. Hopefully you see that, hey, this whole thing can be divided by a 4. So I'll go ahead and divide that 4 out. And so I have 4. I'm left with x squared plus 14x minus 32 equals 0. I'm going to come over here so I have a little bit more space. And then, so I need two factors of 32. I have a difference of 14, so I get x plus 16, x minus 2 equals 0. And then here, this 4, no matter what happens inside here, the 4 is going to go away when I solve for 0. So I let's say I had negative 16. Well, this times 0 is 0. And then multiplying the 4 by the 0 that's left is still going to be, so I could basically just ignore that 4 for a minute. And I'm only focusing on these. So x plus 16 equals 0 means x would be negative 16. Or x minus 2 equals 0 means x is 2. So I have two solutions here to my quadratic, but I got to think, what is the outer dimension going to be? It can't be this, because I can't have negative 16 be that value. All right, so the frame width must be 2. So if the frame width is 2, that means that this x is 2, this x is 2, and this x is 2. Whoops, my thing's not working right. That's 2, and this is 2. I want to know what is the outer dimensions. Well, if this is 17, then this is 2, and this is 2, so I need to add 4, so it's going to be 21 by, and then if this is 11, I add 2 and 2, so that's 11 plus 4 is 15. So the dimensions of the photo are going to be 21 inches by 15 inches. Be careful here because these are the kind of problems where you could solve it and you solve the quadratic and you do everything beautifully, but you didn't pay attention to what's being asked of you. What should the outer dimensions of the frame be? So make sure you are focusing on what is actually being asked. I believe that's it for today. Yeah, that's kind of a tough lesson, so we'll see how we do on that. We may take a little bit of extra time on it. Just make sure you take good notes, bring them to class, and I will see you in class.